I was born in Hickory, North Carolina, but I was raised in Virginia. My dad was a merchant shoe store, and then ultimately he got relocated to Hampton, Virginia. So I was raised there, went to high school there, and then when I was finishing school, looking around at what was going on at that particular era, that was 1959 when I finished high school, and the space program was beginning to emerge. There was, as you can imagine, that period of time, it was a lot of excitement in the U.S. about building the nation's infrastructure, and I was impressed by what was going on. So that was part of it, and I was good in math and science, so that was certainly an inclination toward engineering, and I was advised that that would be a program that I should consider from all the counselors, you know, one has in high school, and advice and guidance. But I also knew that I had a lot of fun in high school, and it was time to get serious, and I picked as my choice the Virginia Military Institute in Lexington, Virginia, which is a 4-year military school, and you come out of it with an obligation for military service when you finish. But there's a lot of discipline. There were 1,000 people in the program. It was a good, solid engineering program in Lexington, Virginia, right next door to Washington Lee University. I was faced with the decision when I came out where I wanted to go, so I accepted, and I wasn't sure about graduate school. I'd been looking at it, been encouraged to go, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I picked, figured if I wanted to be an engineer, and if I picked the regular Army commission, which I received, then I could pick my branch of service. And the Corps of Engineers at that time was still at a high level of, let's say that you had to have done well in school to get engineering. And so I took a regular Army appointment and went into the Corps of Engineers. I dropped my flight at that time, which probably turned out to be a good thing. And I went to Germany for 2.5 years, and platoon leader and S3 officer, company commander. So I found the only program I could find, I really didn't look, was in North Carolina, where the planning program was at Chapel Hill, University of North Carolina. I went there, started off with a dual master's program, and then one day one of the faculty came to me and suggested that I continue on for a Ph.D., and at that time I had 2 children, so I needed to get in and get out. I couldn't waste a lot of time. So I had been 4 years in the military. Loved it, by the way. It was just, I could have easily stayed there. I had a wonderful experience, and I had 4 years in the military school. So for 8 years, people had been telling me what to do and when to do it. You know, it was sort of a regimented life. And here I saw a faculty member who I was impressed with, who seemed to be in charge of his life. I was meeting with him on a research project. He took a telephone call, scheduled a tennis appointment for 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I thought, my gosh, what a wonderful lifestyle, you know, this must be. So I was impressed with all that, and I loved what I perceived to be their job and how they were spending their time in their life. I had a wonderful experience there. One of the other committees that I chaired during ASCE for a number of years was the what do we call it? Government affairs,
legislative affairs, or it's called government affairs.
Yeah, government affairs in Washington, and that committee did that for a number of years, which also gave me the opportunity to do a lot of testifying for various committees. And I've always found a very competent staff within ASCE in the Washington area. You have the most amazing opportunity today. This is the absolute best time to be going into a transportation program or civil engineering. Think about the opportunities in the infrastructure. We've got to revitalize the entire infrastructure that we have. Every element of it needs attention. We've got smarter, better ways of doing that, and the technology today is just absolutely incredible. I mean, we're learning how to leverage the technology today to do things that we always wished we could do, but never were quite there from a technological perspective. And the opportunities are within the private sector and the public sector are wonderful. You know, I've been very active with a number of organizations, national organizations, international groups. I've had the good fortune to be chairman of the board and one of the founding members of something called the Intelligent Transportation Society of America. So I helped found that group, and then later chairman of the board. That's predominantly driven by industry and government, so it's a different mix of of individuals. They're not bonded by civil engineering education per se. So you get a very cross group of individuals in a broad area. A lot of government people, a lot of industry people from different disciplines, particularly high tech. Another organization that I've had the good fortune to be chairman of the board is the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. That group, that's a trade organization. It brings together contractors as well as government and manufacturers, any and all groups associated with the building of transportation facilities are brought together. So in addition, then you've got all the sundry of other transportation organizations, Institute of Transportation Engineers, for example, and so on. So there's a lot of cross purpose relationships. You meet some of the best relationships I've had, long friendships with people I started in the committee arena within civil engineering and in ASCE, basically at the division level, say the highway division, urban planning division, and you work with them again at ITS America, or you work with them in TRB and the like. So you have this relationship. So it's been a challenge for ASCE to maintain a leadership role in, say, transportation, because there are other special organizations, and you know that too, in the water resources field and others. So ASCE has, I think, through the notion of reinventing itself, at least from a management structure and a leadership structure, perhaps that is a step toward trying to recognize the changes that need to take place. And I know that was difficult to do, but I think they're making progress. It's another way of periodically revitalizing, and not that it was anything wrong with it per se, but it's a growing organization that needs to think about itself periodically.
In closing, looking back on your career, would you do it all over again?
I've often thought about that. And it comes up in discussion with my family more than anything else about how much time I've been away from them, and how much, the work environment, the work ethic that I think civil engineers have. And then, as you know, I had a consulting firm for 18 years, loved consulting. I love the research program that I have. I love working with students. The notion of that 2 o'clock telephone call in my mentor's office about his arranging to play tennis in that afternoon, I thought, man, I would love to spend time playing golf and so forth. It's all about choices, and there's so many wonderful things to do that I chose not to use the discretion that I clearly have. And I've been in charge of my life, I feel. We all have bosses, of course, but I feel like I've been in charge of civil engineering has enabled me to do that. And I've had a wonderful time doing it. Yeah, I could have made more money doing something else, but really enjoyed it.